Welcome to the Explainer. For years, the path to tech dominance was pretty clear, right? Well, that's over. Today, we're going to break down the new, much more complex equation that decides who wins and who loses in the age of AI.
So let's just jump right in by challenging a belief that has been, the gospel of Silicon Valley for more than a decade. We've all heard it a million times. Data is the new oil. But is it still, really?
The thing is, the entire game has fundamentally changed. We're moving out of the platform era, where success was all about one thing, amassing huge data sets, and into the AI era, where winning means you have to master a totally new equation with several key parts that all have to work together.
To really get where we're going, we first have to look back at the old rulebook. Let's talk about how companies like Google and Meta built their absolute empires on this foundation of data dominance.
The strategy was honestly a simple but incredibly powerful cycle. You attract millions of users, you collect their data, and then you use that data to make your product way better. Think more relevant search results or eerily good recommendations. This, of course, attracts even more users, creating this flywheel that just spins faster and faster until it's almost impossible for anyone else to compete.
And then, boom, the explosion of generative AI completely tore up that playbook. All of a sudden, just having the most data isn't the trump card anymore. There are new, super critical variables in the mix, and they create a whole new formula for success. Okay, so first, let's talk about data. It's still absolutely essential, but its role has changed. It's not about quantity anymore, it's all about quality. You gotta think of it like raw materials. You don't need all the sand in the desert, you need that super high-grade silicon to make the chip. Next up, compute. So if data is the raw material, compute is the factory. It's the massive, expensive infrastructure of GPUs that you need to actually process those materials and turn them into intelligence. If you don't have the factory, all those raw materials are pretty much useless. And finally, there's talent. These are the brilliant engineers who actually design the factory and know how to refine the raw materials. And, most importantly, they're the ones who figure out how to turn all this amazing technology into real, actual business value. Now, here is the most important part. You have to understand that these three things, they aren't additive. They are multiplicative. What does that mean? It means having the best data and the best engineers is completely useless if you don't have a factory. A 0 in any one of these categories brings the entire equation down to 0. Game over. Okay, let's dig into what is fast becoming the toughest new rule in the AI game. Compute power is the new gatekeeper. And honestly, the barrier to entry here is just staggering. I mean, to really get the scale of this, just look at the cost. A single high-end NVIDIA GPU, the engine that powers all this AI, can set you back 40,000 euros. That's the price of a brand new car. And to be truly competitive, you don't need one, you need thousands of them. And this spending just reveals a massive strategic shift. The top AI companies are now pouring over 80% of their capital, not into getting more data, but into building these massive compute factories. The priority for investment has totally flipped on its head. So just look at how these barriers to entry stack up. Yeah, getting unique data is hard, and finding specialized talent, even harder. But both of those are absolutely dwarfed by the cost of compute. It is, by far, the tallest wall for any new competitor to try and climb. This insane cost naturally creates a huge concentration of power. A tiny handful of companies, you know who they are, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, they now own all the factories. They are the new gatekeepers, and they control access to the most essential resource for the entire AI ecosystem. But look, even if you have access to the best data and the biggest factories in the world, you still need that human element, talent, because all those resources are basically useless without the expertise to turn them into actual results. And the fight for this talent is absolutely fierce. I mean, this slide shows you just how concentrated it is. Of the world's top 100 AI researchers, a staggering 57 of them are in China, with another 20 in the US. This creates a massive innovation bottleneck for pretty much everyone else. And it's not just about hiring any smart person. You need the right mix of talent. You need the AI developers. They're like the scientists who come up with the brilliant new formula. But you also need the AI engineers. They're the mechanics who can actually build the engine and install it in the car so it, drives. And this is really where talent becomes the ultimate multiplier. The companies that win aren't just going to be the ones with the slickest tech. They'll be the ones with a vision to know what to automate and, even more importantly, why they're doing it.
So this all leads to the big question, right? What does this mean for everyone else? How can a company that isn't a tech giant possibly compete in this new world? Well, here is a strategic playbook based on these new rules.
For most companies out there, the path forward is going to look something like this. First, lock down your compute access. Don't try to build the factory yourself. Partner with someone who already has one. Second, specialize your data. Forget about generic web data. Focus on the data that is totally unique to your industry. And third, integrate deeply. Use AI to automate your core business, not just a few simple tasks here and there.
And we're already seeing this strategy work in the real world. LG is using its unique visual data to spot tiny manufacturing defects. GS Caltax is using its process data to predict energy demand. HD Korea uses its deep engineering data to automate ship design. They're all building advantages that the big tech giants just can't easily copy.
So if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. The new defensible moat, your competitive advantage, it's not a giant wall built from having the most generic data. It's a deep well of unique, high-quality, relevant data that only you have. That is your new edge.
Which really brings us to one final question you should probably be asking yourself. As AI rewrites all the rules, is your strategy focused on building the factory and hiring the engineers? Or are you still just collecting raw materials? Because in this new era, your answer to that question is going to define your entire future.